Listen-only mode.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to day 3 of the Black Sustainability Summit. I hope that everyone has been enjoying learning from all of the recorded sessions that are uploaded on the website. And then you also have the great opportunity to actually interact live and direct with the presenters during these Q&A sessions. We're about to bring on our first presenter for the day, Dr. Nobantu Ankoanda. And I just want to remind everyone that you're on mute right now, but if you have a question, you can type it in the chat and we'll read your question, or you can click on the little icon that looks like a hand, and it's letting me know that you have your hand raised and want to ask a question, directly. And I'll go ahead and unmute you if you have a question. Or if you can't find that little hand icon, you can just type in the chat that you want to be unmuted so you can ask your question. But now we want to welcome Dr. Nobantu Ankoanda, who will give us an introduction and tell us some information about her presentation, and then we'll open the floor up to questions. So now I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I would like to begin. Again, my name is Nobantu Ankoanda, Mother of Humanity, sleepless until the battle is won. I would like to begin because this is the first presentation for this morning with a libation. Bear with me. We call upon our ancestors far and near, fathers of our fathers, mothers of our mothers, to bear witness to what we have done, and by their example to continue to inspire us toward reclaiming our African minds, regenerating our African spirit, liberating our homeland, and reclaiming our greatness as a people. We pour this libation to bring into our midst their venerable African spirit, radiating their great wisdom, courage, dedication, and unyielding commitment to victory by any means necessary. It is in the honor of our Creator, our ancestors, our children, and their children that we pour this libation, for the Creator and the various manifestations of the creative spirit. We pour libation ashe for our esteemed ancestors who laid the foundation for human civilization, and who provide the wisdom by which we live and the models by which our lives are guided. We pour libation ashe for our esteemed ancestors who have suffered the atrocities and horrors of Malfa, and yet demonstrated the victorious power of the African spirit against adversity, by maintaining their dignity no matter the cost. We pour libation ashe for those ancestors who survived and made it possible for us to be here today, to continue on their valiant struggle for African liberation and vindication. We pour libation ashe, and finally for our children and their children and future generations of Africans to come, that they too in their time will vindicate our race from all adversaries and continue to imprint upon the world the great genius of African humanity. May their joyful spirit engulf this Black Sustainable Summit to reaffirm our Africanity. It is done. Thank you. And now, greetings. Hotep, Baragani, Assalamu alaikum. Wahotasan na inagada. Greetings. Welcome to the Black Sustainable Online Summit. Thank you for coming to my presentation. My name again is Dr. Mama Nobantu Ankoanda. My background includes being an educator, principal, and teacher of independent African-centered schools for over 35 years in East Palo Alto, California, community activist, founder, and event planner for the Collard Green Cultural Festival in California, and now in Decatur, Georgia, where I've been a resident since 2006. I'm a mother of 5 adult children and community mama for nearly 300 students that I've taught over the years. I presently sit on various advisory boards as an elder. The idea of doing an African Black Sustainability Online Summit has been in the making for several years due to the ongoing toxic, oppressive communities we are living in and experiencing. We understood that if we don't do something different and begin to change people's perceptions and mindsets regarding how to liberate our people, we will be doomed. We felt that we needed to prepare and bring an awareness to our people, alternative solutions to the racist white supremacy conditions we encounter on a daily basis. Yah Elohim, a true visionary who was also a part of the African Sustainability Collective, and myself called a meeting at my home about 4 years ago with serious folks in the Metro Atlantic area to discuss putting together a group of serious people interested in pursuing, identifying, and researching Africans who are living in sustainable communities throughout the African diaspora and the continent. We created a skill base and began to tour various African sustainable communities. As we began to do our research, we found many African sustainable communities throughout the United States and the continent quietly developing sustainable communities, growing their own food, living off the grid, using solar and other forms of free energy, homeschooling their children, and so on. However, we realized that we did not have the resources to tour all of these communities, and the idea of using technology to bring an awareness to others interested would be a wonderful way to start. Within the last year, we were able to bring to our collective a dynamic young lady named Raina Turner, who had the expertise to develop our website and become the organizer for this online summit. We are humbly grateful as we had no budget. Without her, it would not have happened. We give thanks for her dedication and sacrifices she has made to make this first summit a success. So if you can, when you go to our website, make a donation toward her efforts. So here we are, and let me get to my presentation, which is on the sustainable communities our ancestors and indigenous people were first forced to create due to white supremacy, including harsh and horrific enslavement, discrimination, and Jim Crow laws. Excuse me. These communities were often called black townships and settlements. How sad it is that here we are, faced with the same conditions they face in its contemporary forms. So if you can bring up my presentation, or you want me to show my screen? Do you have my screen?
It's showing your screen right now.
Okay, so I need to bring up my PowerPoint presentation, or do you have it?
If you can bring it up, because I can't pull it up on my end.
Okay, there it is. Oh, there it was. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, well, let me see if the volume, bear with me, attendees. I'm going to start this presentation. If you can't hear it, let me know, and then I'll just read it myself. Here we go. Greetings. My name is Dr. Nobantu Ankoanda, and I am the presenter of the history of black towns and settlements in the United States. My reference comes from Mr. Morris Turner, who wrote the book called America's Black Towns and Settlements, a Historical Reference Guide, Volume 1. Morris Turner was influenced by his visit to Allensworth, California, the only black township in California. Sustainable living is not new to African Americans. Living sustainability was a way of life for Africans prior to and even after contact with Western influences. The concept of sustainability is very ancient, particularly to indigenous people, and directly corresponds with how our ancestors had lived according to Ma'at, divine balance, truth, justice, reciprocity, and order, and how they use everything around them without harming the environment or fellow human beings. Consider the beautiful patterns and symbols on African fabric in Ghana. They stamped the cloth by using a gourd to carve out the stamp, and they create the ink for the stamp by soaking, straining, and boiling tree bark in water. Or consider the tried and true remedies passed down by Big Mama, using herbs and roots to make bitter teas and tonics for stomach aches, castor, cod liver oil to cleanse your digestive system, or oatmeal baths to remedy the chicken pox. I remember as a child getting castor oil and what else did we get? Cod liver oil every day, because my parents couldn't afford to be taking us to the doctor. So we and my siblings were fairly healthy throughout our childhood ages. Blacktown Settlements by Morris Turner chronicled the incredible yet neglected story of black pioneers who actively participated in the town-building movement in the United States. These women and men facing treacherous physical surroundings and even more harsh and unaccommodating human environments circumvented the legislative tyranny of racial white supremacy by cultivating communities in areas whites considered uninhabitable. There was a black exodus from African to African American. The eastern shores of the United States were visited prior to the so-called discovery of the region by Europeans. Author Ivan Van Sertima, in his book They Came Before Columbus, makes similar claims based on numerous books, also essays by European explorers themselves. Despite the historical portrayals of the contrary, Africans in America sought to create their own independent communities at the earliest possible opportunity and never relegated themselves to a life of castigation and domination under the authority of Europeans. Many state legislators passed laws that effectively banned free black persons from even residing in their states. As a result of this, Africans born in America were forced to build their own communities. Segregation and white supremacy forced us to build our own townships. Black settlements and colonies were established before and after the enslavement of Africans. However, the era known as the Black Exodus, 1879 to 1881, is acknowledged as the most prolific period of black immigration and settlement. This brief period, although not rubric for all town building, does provide a snapshot of motivation factors intrinsic to the race colony movement in general. Following the Reconstruction, violence against blacks dramatically increased, and it was generally accepted, both socially and legally, that a black person had no rights that a white person was obligated to recognize. African Americans realized that sharecropping was useless, and they fought to free themselves from this cycle of legalized bondage by purchasing their own land. Here's an all-black township in Oklahoma. I'm not sure exactly what town this is in, but they have a T4, and you can see four children in the back, but this is in their own town. Okay, don't know what happened to the audio, but I'll read this one. Davis Bend, Mississippi was an all-black town near Vicksburg, sometimes referred to as Davis Bend Colony. It was a 4,000-acre cooperative community made up of former slaves from 1865 to 1877. Here we are at Mount Bayou. This is an all-black town in Wazoo Delta in northwest Mississippi. It was founded during the spring of 1887 by 12 pioneers from Davis Bend, a fledgling black colony impacted by falling agricultural prices, natural disasters, and hostile race relations. It still exists today. And there is another town that's in Mississippi that's been there for the last 40 years that started by 5 families from the Muslim community. On May 5, 1910, after 4 years of searching for a location that would accommodate 200 families, Oliver Toussaint Jackson established Deerfield, a black agricultural colony on the arid high plains of Colorado. And in more on Deerfield, by 1915, Deerfield had gone from 7 families living in tents, dugouts, and caves in the hillside to 27 families living in wooden cabins. The next 5 years would see the settlement grow to a population of 70 with their own school, their own restaurant, grocery store, boarding house, and 2 churches. This is very similar to another town we're going to hear about later in Allensworth, California, where they had their own school, their restaurant, drugstore, everything that was needed, that they did not have to go out to other communities. They were able to control their own community, just like here in Deerfield, Colorado. Unfortunately, The end of World War I in 1918 also brought an end to the settlement's sturdy growth. As the demand for their crops dropped, the families began to default on their mortgages and equipment loans. One by one, the families sold their farms until there were only 12 people living in Deerfield in 1940. The last resident was Jackson's niece, Jenny Jackson, who lived there until her death in 1973. Now, here we are in Allensworth, which is located in a desolate area midway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. It was erected in 1908 by Colonel Allensworth. This town became an important shipping point along the Southern Pacific Railroad, with a train stopping 8 times a day. This community was thriving between 1912 and 1915. I have visited this town. I have taken my school many years ago where we were able to camp out, and it's been renovated. Most of the home of Mr. Allensworth and his wife is still intact. The school is very much intact. The grocery store, the pharmacy, there's old equipment that's still there. It's a very nice place to go just to get a sense of what it was like living in their own black township. And they had their own black hotel. More about Allensworth. The town formed the Allensworth Rural Water Company, which provided a generous supply of water from 3 artisan wells, and the community continued to prosper until the mysterious death of Colonel Allensworth by a motorcycle rider who intentionally ran over him repeatedly after he stepped from a streetcar. The town's water supply later became contaminated with arsenic. There was a lot of jealous people around this community who didn't appreciate or approve or like the idea that African Americans could be as strong as they were in their own town. In 1976, Allensworth became a recognized historic site and was established as a state park, the only one in the United States that's dedicated to interrupting the history of African Americans. In conclusion, this presentation was included to make people aware that Africans born in America have been creating, building, and living in sustainable communities out of necessity before and after the emancipation. Today, because we're living in such toxic communities, we have no choice but to start rebuilding our own sustainable communities, acquiring renewable energy, getting off the grid, growing our own food, so that we can have healthier children for the next generations to come. This is an opportunity for us. For us to liberate our people. That's my presentation. I hope you all were able to hear it. And are there any questions?
We do have some questions coming in, and thank you for that wonderful presentation. And it's good to see that living sustainable is not anything new for us as African people. And we can look back and see how those who came before us did it, so we can have a blueprint of how we can go forward with doing it. So thank you definitely for that information. I don't know if are you able to see the questions, or should I read them to you?
Let me see. Let me click on questions. I think someone named Don said thank you. I don't see any. Well,
Okay.
you might want to read them. Go ahead.
Okay. The first is a comment from Vivian. She says, "Blessings, Nobantu, and to all. The Black Sustainability Summit has been God sent. Thank you for a job well done. I enjoyed reading your presentation, The History of Black Towns and Settlements in the United States. Yes, Blacks, through all the hate directed at us, we have been able to survive. We, we come from the strength of our ancestors. We come from a great history we must never forget. Love to my African family." And that's from Vivian Stewart. And she's an educator, a scientist, and a family historian.
Oh, I appreciate that. And there is a mic for each of the attendees, and they can speak their own questions if they like. I don't know if you can go to attendees and see the mics there,
Okay, okay. All right.
and you can take off the mic, then they can share their question, or if they don't have the ability to do that, then we can read their questions.
Okay.
So we can maybe remove the mic off of Vivian if she has anything else to say.
Okay.
Are you able to do that?
Yes.
There we go.
Vivian, are you there? I've unmuted your mic if you want to add to your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Very good. I must say, I have talked to Afia a couple of days before, and I am just, it's like tears of joy to see the Black Sustainability Summit. And it was just told to me by accident, and I am just so happy as an educator, but also what I have been seeing and what I'm seeing today when it comes to our Black family, and you see what's going on in the United States, I'm sure, with the murdering of our children. The thing is that I moved from New York to Charlotte, North Carolina to retire. But I was always an activist in New York too. But when I came here to retire and you started seeing all of the hateful and the harmful things directed at our people, you say, God, I cannot retire. I have to get up and do something. So I'm just so happy for this Black Sustainability Summit. Yes, I'm out in the streets. I'm an activist. I'm with a group, and I was at the Million Man March. That was Justice or Else 10-10-15. I don't know anyone knew about it, but we reached 1.5 billion people. And so now there's work to do here in the United States, in Charlotte and all over. We have local organizing committees. They could go to Justice or Else, and they could find a local organizing committee. In Georgia, there is a house that is a conflict resolution house that will help our people who are having problems. There's food, many things. We have a bus, we have cars, we are patrolling our own neighborhood. And this is going to be throughout the United States now. So it is work to do. And we also are setting up 9 ministries, including agriculture and building and many other things, in order to get off the grid. You see, so thank you for all of the information. I am just so proud of you, and I don't want to cry, but I just love you all.
Well, thank you so much for your support in attending this presentation, and you continue to tell folks about us, and we look forward to 2017 where it will be even more information for people, and the dots will be more connected between folks who are doing sustainable with those folks who would like to, and those folks who are doing it, connecting with those folks who are doing it, so that we can share the successes that will be done in each one of our sustainable communities. So thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Thank you. We have a question from Baba Kweku and Mama Afia in Longo. And I will unmute your mic if you want to ask it yourself. And if not, then I can read it for you. So I will go ahead and unmute the Nlongos.
Mahal,
Yeah, Ja.
and good morning. I uh, I really want to say I appreciate what you all are doing too. This is really great, and I hope I can get all of this later so I can share it with others. But my questions are that one, I have two questions. One, what's your opinion on modern conveniences being a trap that has made Africans weak and dependent on other cultures and people?
That's a very good question. I think it sort of came up yesterday when the brother from Ghana was talking about how there's such a gap between those African Americans who are there, who are still living the American way, and then you have the continental Africans who are trying to be as Western as they can, who don't understand or know or have any history of us as a people here in this country. And at some point, it seems to me that we're going to have some study sessions and start trying to work in dialogue with people to get them to understand that we're going to have to eliminate this gap between us. And we have been, the propaganda that has been given to us on both sides have created such a distrust among us as a people. And there's a lot of work to be done longer in terms of that, I guess, as you know. And where we begin, I mean, we're starting right now to trying to communicate to everyone that there's just such a need for us to come together as a people. But there's so much work to do to educate. And that's what I spent 35 years doing, trying to educate my students about who they are, knowing who their history. And I even took my children there to Africa to see for their own eyes back in the 80s. So there's got to be a dialogue. And Dr. Uwa, who's coming on again, I believe today, is setting up an international center here in Atlanta to create this dialogue between Africans, particularly African women and African women here in the United States and the African diaspora with continental African women, because their perception of us is so derogatory. We've got to change that. And by us building and working together and working on these sustainable communities, our hope is that they will see that we're not the image that the media is portraying us. I don't know if that helped answer your question.
Somewhat, as far as those traps. And I have a second question also. Do you have any thought on how Africans can avoid the fall of Black sustainable communities due to the failure to be able to pay the finance owed to non-African financial institutions?
That's a serious issue. Let's just say that one more time, because I had a thought as you were saying, I just lost it. Just repeat it one more time. Thank you.
Okay, basically, how can we avoid the bank foreclosures and when we have our communities, our sustainable communities, owed out to non-African financial institutions?
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about creating our own currency within our own sustainable communities. The bartering concept that we did back in the day. If I can bake a cake and you can fix my windows, we'll trade up doing that to try to eliminate the need to have to go to these large corporations for funding. We've got to create our own. We have to develop our own currency. And I guess, as you know, the dollar bill is on its way out. I mean, the value for a dollar bill is no longer a few years down the road. So we have an obligation to try to create our own financial resources, to depend on ourselves as much as we can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Definitely thank you for those questions. We have a question from Donald. I think Donald had 2 questions in the chat. So I will unmute your mic, Donald, if you want to go ahead and ask those questions.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, excellent. Well, first of all, thank you for you, and thank the audience, and I just thank the creators of this summit. This is definitely, a quantum step forward. My first question was, I have to apologize. Initially, I wasn't completely clear on, if the sustainability of where it was located. Because my first question was asking about the relationship in the continent, specifically Ghana, where the Chinese have been given great influence, and I was just wondering, um, well, I guess I kind of changed the question now. How are we connecting with our brothers of the diaspora globally, or is this something um, that is specific to the United States?
No, we're global because there are we found a sustainable community that's developing as we speak in Gambia, and there was his name is Lord Ajir. He's gonna present later on. I don't know if it's today or tomorrow. And also there is community in Senegal. There's community in Uganda, in Tanzania, um, and of course in Ghana. And I don't know, there's another brother that's going to be presenting. His name is Keedy. He has done a lot of work on this whole idea about Asians coming into Africa. And I think there's a book out called The New Continent for Asians, or the Asian New Continent being in Africa. And they can no longer sustain themselves in such a crowded condition that they're under. So of course they want to come where they can breathe and live better. The problem with that is that they do not interact with the native the Africans that they come into, and they're all over the place. So the only thing that we can do is we as African Americans and Africans in the diaspora, we need to come over and set up, as much as we can, to offset some of the things that they are doing, because we have skills, we have experts in all kinds of areas, and it's a job to try to encourage our skillful people here in diaspora to come to Africa and help build Africa. And so it's just a need for us to get over there as much as possible, as many as possible, to offset what the Asians are doing there. Of course, the Asians got a lot of money. They're building bridges, they're building churches and buildings, they're doing all kinds of things. And I remember listening to, there's a difference between those Asians, however. There's those Asians who are middle class and millionaires, and then those simple Asians who are just simple farmers that are coming in. They have commented on the difference themselves of those Asians are coming in who care less about the people that they're moving in and building, fences and things around where they live, and will not allow Africans even to come set foot near them. So it's a division within them as well. So only thing I can say is that we got to do more, and we got to get over there and create our own sustainable communities and build upon it.
Oh, excellent. My second question is, I was just wondering if you were all familiar with the African Hebrew Israelites that left the United States in 1967 and were in Liberia for about 2.5 years, and then ultimately have been in Israel now since 1969 in Dimona, Israel. They have made sustainable advances, and we've reached out into West Africa and Ghana, Burkina Faso. We're in Kenya, South Eden or Africa, various places, and I was just wondering, would you be open, or would this summit be open to a dialogue with those brothers and sisters? There's over 3,000 in Israel, which is actually Northeast Africa. They don't like saying that there's no such thing as the Middle East. Really, that was created. But to connect and expand on this vision of sustainability, is that something that would, if you're familiar, if you're not, would you be willing to become familiar with
Most definitely, I'm very familiar with the work that the Israelites, the Black Israelites, are doing. I know a family that recently moved back here that lived there with their family for a number of years. I met a brother through Soul Veg who talked to me about, I believe, I'm not sure which country was in Africa, and he was suggesting, and I lost contact with him because it would have been great to have them to present on our summit as well, to let people know what the Israelites were doing all over the diaspora and on the continent. So I'm very familiar with them, and would definitely embrace and encourage them to be a part of our summit for 2017. And even before then, we can still connect throughout the year about what is happening there, and be able to share with others who may be interested in being a part of that.
Oh, I'd be more than welcome to, because I have I call it, my government name is Donald Logan, but my Hebrew name is Maganiel, which means Creator is my shield, my protector. And I would be willing to reconnect you if that's possible. And I presently live in New York City, and I'm part of that in New York. And this is a great day, because for the sleeping giant to awake all over, you know. And I don't know if I should leave my number, or you have an email address.
Yes. Please send it to Black Sustainability Summit at gmail.com. Black Sustainability Summit at gmail.com. And you can also, on the chat, you can leave your name, your African name, and as well as your slave name and your contact on here as well. So we'll have it on both sites.
All right, and we have time for, thank you definitely for the comment and being willing to, connect everyone to expand the summit as well. We have time for one last question from Davis, and I'm going to unmute your mic, Davis, if you want to make your comment or ask your question.
Hi, good day, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Like I said, I've been following from day one. Great, great presentation, ma'am. I see you missed Eatonville in Florida on your presentation. And
Yes, I couldn't get them all in. I mean, Rosewood, there's so many. There were thousands of settlements. And just want to say, in California, there wasn't just that one that I mentioned. That was the only one that still existed today. Sorry.
yeah, I'm actually going to live in Eatonville sometime this year for a period of time to probably learn and add to whatever is happening there. Um, I wanted to know, I hear you talk about creating our own currency. Um, so could you expand on that just probably for a minute or two for some of us who are looking at that ourselves?
Well, I think in Ithaca, back in New York, there's a community there that's created their own currency. Um, And there is a young sister here in Atlanta, when she was in high school, who did research on currency that we can develop. And there's another organization that I'm aware of that's talking about currency. I don't know all the details in it, um, but they've actually created some coins of some sort within their community. So I would have to, if you can send your information to us as well, I can send you information about what we have learned and what we know um, about this whole movement about creating our own currency.
Okay, because I'm working on a paper doing some research, and it's titled the new melanin economy, and we are contrasting the old melanin economy where Africans were taken out and made slaves, and on the basis of their labor and their ingenuity, the capitalist system was created. And so now we ought to switch that on them. Use our own resources, our own personage to create an economy and exclude them.
I hear you. There's been a lot of talk about that, around the reparations movement. I sit on that board as well. There's so many different ways to try to deal with that. And so we'll be interested when your book is published, to get that information out to our attendees so that we can be aware of the research that you're doing and share the information that we're learning as we go through this process. So I appreciate what you're saying, and if I can get the paper that this young student did on currency, I will try to do that as well. So if you could leave your name and your email address, that would be very helpful so we can share information around this whole concept around currency for our own people.
I, I, I look forward to keeping in touch. Thank you so much again and wonderful presentation.
You're more than welcome, and thank you for attending.
All right, thank you. We have one more quick question from Baba Kwaku, and I will unmute the mic. And this will be the last question for the session because we'll have to get ready for our next presenter. Okay, Baba Kwaku.
That's, the question is, can Africans avoid the errors of the past if we continue to use the ways and institutions established by our enemy to establish our communities? Continue to use their cultures. Do we have to be sovereign, I guess is what I'm asking.
So we cannot be sovereign using their cultures. That's not going to work. We definitely, this whole idea around sustainability is building towards sovereignty, and we have to eliminate. I mean, it's so much that we have to do individually as people to get our mindset on our own culture and our own powers that we have. It's subconsciously is there, but we have lost the ability to use those powers, and it's time for us to really, I believe, to get more into our African spirituality, so those powers can resurface, so that we can create the necessities of, to create the necessary ways to develop our own sustainable sovereign nation. And we cannot use those capitalistic ways because it has not worked. And as you or someone just said, on the backs of our people, they are, have survived. And without us, they would not be where they are today. So I don't think we're going to have to eliminate those cultures, and we got to study hard on how we can develop within our own communities by unifying ourselves to create what we need for us as a people for the next generations to come.
Thank you.
Did I help you? I don't know.
All right, we want to thank you, Baba Kwaku, for that excellent question, and thank everyone for tuning in, and definitely thank Mama Nobantu for your great presentation, as well as all of your energy and work and effort in helping to put together this summit. So we definitely want to give thanks to you for that, and want to let everyone know that our next Q&A session will start at 12:10. So come back and join us, and everyone have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.